regional final between the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and the Georgetown Hoyers. Now let's meet the starting lineup. For Georgia Tech at forward, 7-foot junior from Brooklyn, New York, number 22, John Sally. For Georgetown at forward, a 6'7" senior from Washington, D.C., number 24, Bill Martin. For Georgia Tech at forward, a 6'6" senior from Chicago, Illinois, number 24, Scott Petway. For Georgetown at forward, 6'7" sophomore from Baltimore, Maryland, number 34, Reggie Williams. For Georgia Tech at center, a 6'11" senior from Cape Haitian, Haiti, number 54, Yvonne Joseph. For Georgetown at center, 7-foot senior from Cambridge, Massachusetts, number 33, Patrick Ewing. For Georgia Tech at guard, 6-foot junior from Enid, Oklahoma, number 25, Mark Price. For Georgetown at guard, 6'2" junior from Reston, Virginia, number 30, Michael Jackson. For Georgia Tech at guard, 6'4" sophomore from New York, New York, number 45, Bruce Dalrymple. For Georgetown at guard, 6'5" junior from Baltimore, Maryland, number 40, David Wingate. And introducing the head coaches for Georgia Tech, Bobby Crimmins, and for Georgetown, John Thompson.
Our stage is set, and we'll be back with the opening tap. It's Georgetown and Georgia Tech coming up on CBS. And who will be the next team to join Memphis State in the Final Four?
Well, that man on the picture will have something to say about it without question before this one's over. Congratulations out to Dana Kirk and club. That's quite a win. Two fine teams there in Oklahoma and Memphis State.
Georgia Tech controls.
Sally stole that tap on the way up, Brent. Really wasn't a clean tap. Box in one on Mark Price to start the game. Something that the University of Virginia did very effectively against Georgia Tech, and that's what Price is going to see.
And it'll be Wingate going with Mark Price. So Dalrymple comes out to take a look at this defense right now.
Oh, real strategy at the start here. Georgia Tech does not want to play against any kind of zone, so they're going to hold the ball. They can do that since the score is tied. And it forces Georgetown to come out. Now they go man-to-man.
Georgetown is out in that man. Wingate picks up Dalrymple. Jackson sloughing off of Price. And they get it inside to Joseph. He got the bounce. Bobby Crimmins' offensive strategy will be for Joseph to take jump shots and keep Ewing occupied at the defensive end. They worked hard on it at practice yesterday.
There's Ewing pushing on Joseph.
Wingate sends it back to Ewing. And he was fouled. Dalrymple fouled him.
For fans to watch this game early, Brent, you made an excellent point. You cannot allow Patrick Ewing to patrol the lane. You must have a center that keeps him occupied offensively. That's a big shot for Georgia Tech for Joseph to hit it early.
Reggie Williams, who will inbounds, did not practice yesterday because of an injured ankle. Came out and shot around and told me that he felt fine. Handling the ball with his first shot.
Super smooth. That Dalrymple on him got picked, and here comes the famed press.
Price runs it down, but it was not handled that smoothly, was it? And as Price goes down, there is a foul. Ewing goes down to the ground, and that's number 1 on Ewing.
I think they might call this on Wingate. Let's see. Patrick standing right there, holds his ground. The trip is made. They are going to call it on Wingate. He reached in from the side. Could have been either way there. Georgetown goes Shows his zone, but they're right back in here trapping now. Nice job by Ewing to double team.
Inside to Joseph, and Williams fouled him. So when Ewing jumped outside on the trap, the intelligence of this Georgia Tech team, they get it inside right away. Now here is Dwayne Farrell. He injured his right knee in the ACC tournament. Then the other night in beating Illinois, he injured his left knee, but more importantly the toes on his left foot, telling us they're very painful today. He will try to play and just play through the pain.
Double teaming all over half court.
Sally to Dalrymple, and again they squeeze the trigger. Joseph, he has trouble holding on to the ball, and you could see him simply lose the handle there as Georgetown was all over him.
He's pumped up, Brent, but what's happening? He's trying to shoot the ball before he catches it. He did this the other night against Illinois. Follows up here this afternoon with the same play. Now his own.
Sally maneuvering to the left hand. Ewing influences, and Sally dunks over him.
And a foul on Patrick Ewing. Now, here's something a lot of people don't do with Patrick Ewing. They try to alter their shot instead of going right hard at it. Sally altered it there by going left-handed. Then he comes back and said, hey, no more altering the shot. I'm going to try to put it right down the rim, and that's what he does. And obviously, Bobby Crimmins has told his club, let's go right at the big guy.
The three-point play, and Georgia Tech builds a 5-2 lead. 18-18 to go in the first half. Lob and deep to Martin.
Georgia Tech did not get back well, but they're going to press.
They're having trouble with the press. Ewing was standing at midcourt for the interception. That first pass has not been clean on the part of Tech. Wingate.
Shot altered. Right now, both teams playing with a little bit too much energy. They got to settle down. Bobby Crimmins saying his men are being pushed inside, just starting to work those officials early.
Jackson. Williams.
Reggie Williams has a thin body, but he's such a great offensive rebounder.
That is such a different start from the other night against Loyola when he was 0 for 3. He has hit his first 2.
And here we go, back to the box and one again. Box and one. David Wingate shouldn't allow Mark Price to make a move on him that far out where he fouls.
The second foul on Wingate. So right away, Perry McDonald, a very physical, tough, hard-working freshman guard, comes in. One of the advantages John Thompson has. He has those extra fouls that he can use against somebody like Mark Price. He can keep the pressure on now with a McDonald.
Go back to trap it. Every pass contested here.
Turnover again. Pressure defense starting to rattle Tech just a little bit.
Ewing fighting for position inside. Patrick Ewing fighting for position. Yvonne Joseph has not ever faced a man this big, this strong, and this active. Watch Ewing go for position. There's Joseph trying to hang on. Normally, he overpowers a man in the post.
Joseph is 27 years old, out of Haiti. He entertained the press at the news conference yesterday. He said, when they offered me scholarship, I had to look the word up in the dictionary. Ewing rises up on Joseph.
Very underrated scorer, but I think Georgia Tech would be wise to let him take those turnaround jumpers. Don't let him get on the offensive boards.
Jackson, with his right leg, turns him over to McDonald on the box and one. Jackson will hound him across the midcourt line, then they turn him over. This is a defense that was used against Chris Mullen in Madison Square Garden also.
This really takes away a lot of the scoring for Georgia Tech.
Missing. Price with a hand on the ball, knocked it out of bounds. It'll go to Georgetown.
Box and one, as I mentioned, utilized so well by Terry Holland in Virginia against Georgia Tech. Takes Mark Price's big offensive scoring out of the game for a while. Straight man to man.
Williams.
I don't think the legs affected him at all.
Now Tech must get Price into the offense, and instead he commits a charging foul against that pressure. And And it is the Georgetown defense that is slowly putting the Hoyas back in a commanding position.
Just great foot movement that time by Jackson. Stayed right with Mark Price, anticipated the behind-the-back dribble, and was waiting on him.
Off the triple team, a wise pass to Jackson. McDonald there, though, underneath. Joseph rebounding.
Got to try to push the ball up court quickly against Georgetown before they get their defense set.
Crimmins will try Farrell, the kind of athlete he knows can do well if he is physically able in a game like this. Dalrymple glides inside and battles to the glass.
Patrick Ewing kind of surprised there. That's not something Dalrymple would normally do.
Turned it over on the travel, did young McDonald.
John Thompson goes to the bench quickly, taking McDonald out, coming back with Wingate, Broadnax, and Dalton.
The combination of Dalton and Ewing is something that Bobby Crimmins expected to see quite a bit of against his two tall men underneath. So this is a first look now at the bigger Georgetown lineup. Here is Farrell. Gets the ball to Price. Price comes up with the shot, misses. Farrell came in over Patrick Ewing and tapped it in. And what a contribution he gives the team immediately off the bench.
That's the kind of offensive rebound Georgetown usually has.
Broadnax.
Georgia Tech realizing there's more to this arsenal than just Patrick Ewing. And obviously, as Georgetown has a lead, they can afford to go back in there because Georgia Tech can't pull the ball back out and hold it.
Price.
Downtown. Ewing.
Pushing underneath for rebounding position. Number 2 on Ewing.
No question about the push. Now, what happened there is what happens so often in basketball. Sally got the first shove. Ewing got the second one. The official so often sees the second push.
Timeout in Providence. 12-9. Georgetown leading by 3. The Rookie of the Year in the ACC was Dwayne Farrell out of Calvert Hall High School in the Baltimore area. He played his greatest high school game ever against Dunbar, which featured Reggie Williams and David Wingate of Georgetown. And that was an example of his athletic ability. He has been slowed, of course, because of the knee injuries.
Exactly, Brent. One of the things that's so amazing, he injured it in the first-round game of the ACC tournament against Virginia. And for a young player that's so physically gifted to find himself injured, it's amazing how well he's come back mentally.
Georgetown's road here to the East Region Championship, beating Loyola of Chicago last. And as for Georgia Tech, they put away Illinois, the last Big Ten representative. So 3 times in these regional finals, the ACC and the Big East will come eyeball to eyeball. Loose ball. Reggie Williams reaching in, and Farrell fouled Reggie.
There are those quick hands. Now, if you ever get an opportunity to see Georgetown practice, they work on that slap ball hand on defense. They do it so well, and what happened is Farrell put the ball right out in front of him, and it was gone.
Broadnax, the point guard for John Thompson. Dalton gives it back to Broadnax.
Now Dalton's wide open underneath. There's been a switch here by John Sally. Dalton ought to try to get down in and post up. Too late.
Ewing, short. Williams foul.
Oh, he's walking. Going to call walking. Farrell had his hand on the ball, and Reggie tried to back out of there. He's asking for a push.
I thought he was pushed about 3 feet.
Martin in and Patrick Ewing goes out. John Thompson wanting to make that move, not pick up a 3rd foul so quickly.
Sally will inbound. They double team Price. Ball knocked loose by Jackson, but recovered by Tech.
Georgia Tech is going to have to shore up getting that ball in bounds. They've been shaky on almost every occasion. Up back there, a little triangle and 2 now on Price and Dalrymple.
Joseph, Sally runs it down. Price maneuvering, pushes off to Joseph, and Dalton fouls him.
Not a bad move, rather, by Ralph Dalton. You don't want to give away the easy pass. Mark Price fakes Dalton out by passing off on the jump shot. Good reaction by Ralph Dalton to get back, and just don't let a man have an easy one.
6 team fouls against Georgetown, 4 against Georgia Tech. We have 13:49 to go first half.
That man right there has a lot of fouls to give, as you pointed out, Brent. John Thompson knows how to use them. They play aggressively, and they don't worry about it because they've got such a deep bench. You know, it's kind of interesting, too. You have Yvonne Joseph 4 years ago. Nobody really worried about recruiting this young man. Everybody talking about Patrick Ewing, and yet he's made development to be in this game also.
Farrell.
Super lead.
And Dalrymple committed that personal foul, his second.
Georgia Tech showed a little pressure defense, but you notice now they're just dropping straight back and not putting the full court pressure on even when it's available.
Ewing quickly returns to the floor for Thompson. Dalton sits down. The Hoyas have their starting lineup on the floor. Ewing.
Excellent movement by Patrick to get open so close to the basket. Any team that plays Georgetown, Brent, knows they have to work first on just getting the ball up to half court.
Freeman's big concern, how Price would come back after the Illinois game. He was extremely tired yesterday. They let him sleep in. Then he came in off to a slow start.
Good.
The shooter Georgia Tech leads, and he's been shut out so far.
Billy Martin.
4-3.
Billy Martin just can anticipate so well. The boxing one's still on.
Away from Joseph, but Dalrymple tracks it down. Price's fourth shot.
Ewing.
The great ones finally get it done. Watson coming in, but he turned it over on the travel.
One of the differences between Georgetown this year and last. Last year they did not try to force the break. This year they'll push it up the court in a hurry. Much better offensive club than the one that won the national team title last year. Big basket here for Georgia Tech. They'd like to force Georgetown to play man-to-man.
As he brought the ball up, Martin's second.
We're going to call that on Williams on a reach?
They are.
Yeah.
His second.
John Thompson very upset there in the fact that Georgia Tech was able to get the ball inside so easily. From the foul line, although not a real good free throw shooter, only shooting 62%.
With 12:07, deadlocked at 14. Wingate.
So many weapons. Williams and Wingate stepping outside, and the reason they're getting open, that was a hold by Jackson. He knows it. You don't want to put Georgia Tech on the foul line this early, Brent. They've been on that line a lot today on some two-shot opportunities. Now that heavy 1-and-1, you start putting them on the line, they're a 72% free throw shooting team. Said John has a lot of fouls to give, but he doesn't want to get in that serious a shape.
He's giving them all rather quickly.
That's right. 72 out of the last 77.
From the field so far, Georgetown has hit 62%. Georgia Tech only 45%. Price now is 1 of 5 in the game.
That was a good job by Reggie Williams. He made Mark Price alter that shot.
Williams.
Oh, there's a push.
Martin. Ewing.
Good foul by Farrell. You don't want Ewing to get the dunks. In a game like this, not only do you not want to give those 2 points up easily, the psychological effect of a team taking over inside hurts.
The officials, as far as the coaches were concerned, figured to be a key in this game. How close would they call the contact underneath, and will they be consistent in the second half?
Well, I think you'd say that this game is being very closely officiated. There's not a lot of pushing that they're getting away with or holding. And the coach has to make that adjustment, as John Thompson has.
The Achilles heel of the Hoyas at the free throw line. Antoine Ford, the 7-foot freshman center, replaces Joseph.
I think I'm beginning to wonder about Dwayne Farrell. With that bad leg, obviously he's not in the best of shape. He's being asked to play a lot of minutes here. He has to start wearing down soon. And Ford certainly can't push against Ewing, as Javon Joseph has and can.
Sally has it taken away, and again that Georgetown pressure causing problems for Georgia Tech. They can't get across the midcourt line. Jackson missing.
Jackson really took a shot there that he didn't need to take because he had Ewing posted up inside, wide open. Patrick Ewing complaining that he got an elbow. He did some hammering himself. Here's a zone trap now.
Georgia Tech is hesitating as they receive the ball. They're not attacking this crisply to get across as we've seen other teams do against Georgetown, especially St. John's earlier in the year.
One of the ways to beat that trap is to try to go through it with a dribble, as Golston did the other night. Did it so well.
Farrell. Williams rebounds.
Martin. That's his shot.
Ewing pushed to the floor that time.
What's happening is that a guy like Sally doesn't have enough power to block Patrick Ewing out. So he's trying to go up in the air with him, and Patrick just going over him with his strength. See the shot here? That's Billy Martin's shot. He likes to take that baseline jumper. Now watch here. See, Patrick, you can't, if you don't block Patrick Ewing out, you can't go up and overpower him with your upper body. Not if you're a John Sally.
Petway returns. Farrell will sit down. Brodnack's now checking in. Williams is out. Joseph also has returned. And Sally with 2 personal fouls. He will sit down.
Bobby Crimmins, I'm sure, is talking to John Sally about that very fact. Don't try to go up with the fellow. Put your body on him. Do the best you can to keep him off the boards.
Joseph.
Defense now. 1-3-1 zone trap. Now they're not playing the box and one on Price. They know where he is, but they're not guarding him man-to-man. Now the 1-3-1, and they match up out of that. Boy, is that imposing to have Patrick Ewing come out and play you on the wing. He takes up so much room. Now he's on Durham.
Price inside.
And all to the shot.
Joseph is there with the rebound. Pump fake. Dalton wouldn't fall for it. And Ewing rebounds. But Dalton held his ground inside. Ewing jump hook off balance. Ford pushing. And hold it. He's pointing at Joseph.
Now, what happened there? If you're a coach and you're playing against Patrick Ewing, that's the shot you want him to take. Going away from the basket, a half hook. He can't offensive rebound right here. Javon Joseph did push off. The last thing you want your people to do is worry about following Patrick Ewing on the half jump hook.
Play with your feet.
That's a good comment somebody made there. Play with your feet.
I think it was one of the officials.
Well, I didn't know they're supposed to be coaching, but that's a good coaching technique.
is the official,
you're right.
and that's exactly what he should be doing.
Hey, everybody settle down and play some basketball. You guys do this. One.
Sally replaces Ford. We've got a timeout in Providence. 9:40 left in the first half. Here in the East Regional, the two top seeds, Georgetown, of course, number 1, Georgia Tech number 2. But look at how well the committee did in the other regions.
Did an excellent job. The committee had 9 of the final 16, and right now they're riding on 6 of the final 8, which is tremendous job on the part of the committee to be able to have that accurate of selection.
Only Virginia, Commonwealth, and Michigan of the top seeded teams did not reach the regional finals. And of course, earlier today, Memphis State held off Oklahoma. In case you missed it, it was Keith Lee at the free throw line down the stretch who got the job done.
A little different type of press now. Ralph Dalton all the way back there. Got to worry about 10 seconds. But Georgetown gives you so many different looks. I mean, this is not just a talented ball club. They're so well coached and drilled. It's so difficult to establish a pattern against them. Nobody coming out to meet the ball.
Gets away from Joseph, run down on the turnover by Jackson.
Ewing looking for the lob.
Into Ewing.
But Georgia Tech really had themselves flustered because John Thompson threw a defense at them they hadn't seen yet today. Just like right now. See, they're allowing them to get the ball inbound, so it's an entirely different type of press. Traps are still there.
And again, they cause problems. They didn't get over in time, and still another turnover. Number 7 by Georgia Tech.
Boy, they make you prepare for so many different things. Ralph Dalton is so imposing down here. You can't throw the ball over him. And of course, Patrick Ewing's all the way in the back line, so you can't go for the long pass.
The difference so far, the relentless pressure being applied by Georgetown has taken its toll. Georgia Tech has not handled it well. Martin underneath Ewing.
That was a shot. Patrick Ewing caught it. Here's where Mark Price better be careful not to do it all by himself.
Price cut off, trap, and foul.
John Thompson wanted that one.
And that on Martin is his first.
He won't complain, but he'll subtly let the referee know that he is never putting the big pressure on. What happens as a team, you realize you're starting to get behind a little bit and you try to force the tempo. Georgia Tech has to realize what's happening to them and get the ball over half court first and then start trying to work about getting the basket.
You begin to appreciate the job that Golston did the other night for Loyola when you see all the difficulty that Georgia Tech is having bringing the ball up.
That's true, Brent, but in a way, Golston never saw all these different types of traps. I'm wondering if John Thompson wasn't holding something back as any smart coach would, because Golston didn't face so many different looks defensively.
Timeout in Providence. 8 minutes and 23 seconds left in the first half, and Georgetown leading by 6. Gold medalist Pat Ewing trying to lead Georgetown back to another championship. There's the man who stayed close to him on the United States Olympic team, George Ravley, the basketball coach at Iowa, who has come here to see this East Regional Final. And if I know George, he's probably working in a little recruiting on the side, because that's what George does as well as anybody.
George is one of those basketball sickos. You know, he's going to be wherever the game is. Fine guy, eliminated by Arkansas this year when he had a nice lead out in the West region.
Ewing. Sally takes it away from Brodnax.
I think that's the best defense against Patrick Ewing. Let him take the turnaround jumper. Kind of like Wilt Chamberlain when he was in the pros. You don't want him going to the hole. Georgetown playing now 1-3-1.
Joseph complaining he was pushed.
That was more a throw than a shot.
Rodnax went one-on-one, and Dalrymple forced him back outside.
That was good defense by Dalrymple. That was a set clear out for Broadnax, and there was nothing there. Martin. Nice follow through. Petway may not be a good enough athlete to play against a guy like Billy Martin.
Georgetown's offense is triggered by that great defense, as it has been throughout this particular game. Georgia Tech is 5 of 16, 31% from the field. They are 0 for their last 5, and their star, Mark Price, is 1 of 6 here.
Problem also with this club on the floor, Georgia Tech only has one guy that wants to put up the outside jumper, and that's him right there.
Offensive rebound, and the foul called. Dalrymple, an excellent rebounder, got inside and got position, and he'll come up to the free throw line.
You're looking at a man that stands 6'4", plays the guard position, has the toughest defensive role on the team, and 10 times in his career he's had more than 10 rebounds in a game. Shows you what kind of hustler and battler on the boards he is. Obviously, now what Georgia Tech is going to have to do, Brent, they have got to figure out how to get in some semblance of a half-court offense. They're starting to force their shots. They're starting to panic a little bit. They've got to realize they're still pretty close, and they've seen everything Georgetown's going to throw at them.
Farrell returning, and Petway sits down. Petway hasn't taken a shot yet for Georgia Tech. Farrell 1 of 3, but again he is playing with 2 injured knees and very painful toes on his left foot.
Good play by Joseph.
Ewing maneuvering, and Sally came up and fouled him.
Bobby Crimmins upset with the call, but again, if you're playing Patrick Ewing, you got to let him have this shot, not worry about going after him so much, because had he missed that shot, Ralph Dalton was in perfect position to rebound. Patrick Ewing has not had that many games where he's beaten people with his scoring. He beats you with all the other ingredients.
Ford replaces Sally. Sally will sit down with those 3 personals. Ewing against Joseph. From the floor, Patrick is 4 of 7. And Ewing remains the only Georgetown player to shoot free throws in this game.
Was good in the second one, didn't get much of a bounce in the first. Here's a 2-2-1 full court press. Notice sometimes Georgetown presses full court and drops back half court. Next time they pressure, they stay up in a full court situation and trap. Just keeps you off balance.
Dalrymple gives it to Ford, who travels.
Ewing came from 18 feet out on the wing that time to recognize the penetration. It was right there to cause Ford to walk.
That is the 8th turnover by Georgia Tech.
That's better than a blocked shot. You create a walking violation.
I would have loved to have seen the United States Olympic team against Georgetown with Ewing playing for Georgetown.
That's a good thought.
I think they're that good when they turn their defense up as they have here this afternoon.
Well, I'll tell you this. If Georgetown had been the United States Olympic team, nobody in the rest of the world would have beaten them.
Jackson fouling Price.
But John Thompson has not had to really heavily get on officials. He's just kind of working them in his cool style. I mean, if he didn't have this kind of lead, he'd be starting to jump on him. A lot of people think that that's one of the best things, that big imposing figure works on referees after a while. He looks for all the angles. And as I pointed out, Brent, foul shooting is one of the big advantages that Georgia Tech has over Georgetown. Unfortunately for them, they've been able to get to the line. Field goals have been few and far between.
Rodnax replaces Martin. They are 11 of 13 from the line. 5:36 to go, and free throws are keeping Georgia Tech in this game. 28-21.
Here's the spread offense now by Georgetown with 5:27 to go. They go a little four corners, but this is their offensive weapon. Now, I'm surprised Georgia Tech doesn't take a little rest here. Drop back in and let Georgetown take some time off the clock here rather than get themselves in a situation where they give up an easy basket.
Either Louis Carnesecca or Jim Valvano would draw Georgetown in the Final Four if Georgetown wins this game. And I imagine both coaches are getting an eyeful of these variety of defenses. Of course, Carnesecca's been living with them for some time at the Big East.
This takes me back to 1977 when North Carolina was playing Marquette. North Carolina had a commanding lead and control. Now, they're not the ball club Georgetown is, but they went four corners and threw them out of their sink.
Wingate has the ball knocked away, and he was fouled by Farrell.
And what Marquette did at that time, same thing that Georgia Tech was doing, Brent. They went back in and said, hey, we're not going to come out and aggressively play.
That is the only criticism that you hear about Thompson's coaching, is that from time to time they say he'll slow it down too quickly with the athletes that he has got.
Well, we've talked. One of the big disadvantages for him when he goes four corners and keeps the game close is that he has a poor foul shooting team. So the pressure falls back on him to put his team on the foul line near the end of the game. But you can't criticize him for many things. He's won a lot of games. And obviously, as I mentioned the other day, he was Dean Smith's assistant in the '76 Olympics. He's learned a lot from Dean Smith. And that's one of the things that Smith has done so well. Pretty good handling of the ball there, but Patrick Ewing kind of laid back. Maybe the next time he'll go after one of those long passes.
So far, that Georgetown defense has held Mark Price to 1 of 7.
Well, now they're back to the box and 1 on Price. Ewing comes out the corner. He just can't get that jumper off.
Two of 8.
Nice ball handling. Got the ball inside and looked opposite.
Jackson is not yet in the Georgetown offense. He is 0 of 3. Brodnax.
Not a good shot. Georgetown doesn't need that shot when they're so imposing inside. Here's the 1-3-1 defense by Georgetown.
Jump hook by the freshman, and Antoine Ford brings something to the dance for Brennan.
Brent, go back to the little four corners now. And it's always something that you'd second guess in terms of a strategy. They had a nice run going, were overpowering Georgia Tech, then got themselves out of the ballgame. Now they go back again to play regular.
Martin. Well rebounded. Georgia Tech can pull to within 2 this trip.
Georgetown playing a 1-3-1. They stay in it.
Ford again, and that's goaltending. This is a 2-point basketball game. Georgetown got out of its rhythm, and Georgia Tech popped them.
Now that was a good play by Antoine Ford. When you're playing against a great shot blocker, you've got to take your shot, and if he gets a piece of it, he gets it. Remember Patrick Ewing against North Carolina at the beginning of that ball game a couple of years ago where he blocked everything in sight and had a couple of goaltending calls, but Worthy kept putting it right up there. Taking Ewing out of the offense, nobody hitting him with the ball down low.
Maneuvering.
Push by Ewing.
That's 3 personal fouls on Ewing.
Ralph Dalton comes in for him. Patrick Ewing going to have to sit down. And, of course, now you'll see Georgia Tech trying to pound it inside.
Georgia Tech that time was more cautious defensively against Ewing, too. They were leaning far back so as not to be assessed the personal, exactly what you have been pointing out, Billy.
Yeah, I think when you play against a Patrick Ewing type, and I think back in the days when Will Chamberlain was such a factor, you've got to play behind him and let him do his things offensively, because if he ever gets close to that hoop, you're in trouble. People in the lane too soon.
One of the officials warning the players again that they were in too soon.
They're still in there too soon.
From the line, Georgia Tech is 13 of 15. Game tied at 29. This is the 3rd tie, but the first in some time. 2 minutes left, first half.
Now here's Georgetown again going back to the 4 corners, and if you're Bobby Crimmins, you have to legally go out and play them. But you'd be foolish to go out and kamikaze play them.
You can be legally very happy to go out and play them, I would think.
Well, if a team has the ball and the score is tie, it's up to the defense to force action. So if they have 3 men out, you have to bring at least 2 men out defensively to play them. But you don't have to go out there and try to steal the ball. Just be in a guarding position. And I bet you Bobby Crimmins will say, hey, look, you want to keep it out there the rest of the half? You go ahead and keep it. I'll stay right where I am.
This will be a relic come next year. Everyone believes that we'll have the 45-second shot clock in the NCAA tournament.
Well, I believe this strategy right here favors Georgia Tech. They can go in confidently saying, hey, they held the ball on us. We were able to get back in the game. The fans are starting to work on Georgetown now. You can see here, Georgia Tech is not going to go out and get out of position defensively. They're holding their 2 men back inside, not going to get overcommitted.
The first time they did it is what threw everything out of sync. The Hoyas had been on a mighty roll.
Yeah, I thought they were ready for a knockout punch. I really did. And then they took themselves out of the game. Now, here's the warning. Now, Bobby Crimmins really upset. The warning was made, and yet his men were within 6 feet of guarding position.
Time is down.
One
you
shot.
can see 20 seconds. Georgia Tech has scored the last 8 points.
Here's a clear out for Jackson. Price on him.
Wingate short.
Somebody's out of bounds. Yep. And now Georgia Tech gets a chance to have the last shot. You look for Mark Price on a penetration move here. But if you're Georgia Tech, you've got to remember that press is still on. Don't try to force it through the press.
Rodnax and Petway coming in for Georgia Tech.
Smart move by Bobby Crimmins right here. I think he's going to get Yvonne Josephs out. Let's see. He does. And the reason I think that's so smart is Joseph's the kind of guy that'll go over somebody's back trying to get an offensive rebound. That's Mansell coming in.
Coming up at halftime, of course, Dick Stockton and Bill Raftery. They will have highlights of Memphis State's exciting win over Oklahoma for the Midwest Region Championship. They'll look ahead to the 2 championship games tomorrow. Petway. That's the end of the first half. And Georgia Tech has to go into that locker room feeling awfully good about how things turn around. We've got a tie. Georgia Tech 29, Georgetown 29. CBS Sports coverage of the 1985 NCAA basketball.
Final tournament game is sponsored by Michelob Light. You can have it all. Mazda and the full line of sophisticated Mazda products. And by the people who help you live the good life, the Equitable.
minutes and 44 seconds to go in the first half. Georgetown hit its last field goal. Now Mark Price with 9 points, but he finally hit 2 field goals for Georgia Tech. And as for Georgetown, we can see Ewing with the 12 points. And for the last 4:33 of that half, Tech outscored Georgetown 8-0.
Straight man-to-man again to start this second half. Patrick Ewing lost touch of the ball. Von Joseph's getting a little piece.
Ewing double team, comes back the other way.
But you got to let him have those. You got to give him something. He takes away so much. Here's the press. Good move. Jackson. One good dribbling technique by Mark Price, and the little men have been a story in this NCAA tournament, Price being one of them, is get that dribble low to the floor. You see the Spud Webbs and the Golstons doing such a great job. Bubba Jennings, another little man that's played so well in the tournament, and how about Andre Turner? They all have been good press busters.
Petway brings it up.
Nice.
Makes a good move against Ewing.
And did you see Patrick Ewing want to get out of traffic? Once he left his feet and realized Sally hadn't put it up, Ewing was really worried about picking up number 4. Great move. I think it'd be very wise for Georgia Tech to go at Patrick Ewing in his second half and make him play somebody. Crossover dribble.
Jackson sends it back to Ewing. Gets it in return. Loose. Jackson. Martin.
He was fouled. Big turnover. That's a big turnover by Georgia Tech. They had the rebound. Going to turn around. That's going to be a 5-point turnaround here. They had an opportunity to get 2. Instead, they have a chance to give up 3. Billy Martin holding ground. Martin, the DC product that came in with Anthony Jones, who's now out at UNLV, 2 of the most highly recruited forwards in the country that year. And again, you see that press a little different now, making it tough for Georgia Tech even to get the first pass in bounds. Georgetown drops back now into a 2-3 zone. This is the first time we've seen this type zone, although they use it a lot. This can help Patrick Ewing stay out of foul trouble. As he just positions himself in the middle, doesn't have to worry about an individual man.
Lob inside to Sally. 1-point Hoya lead.
Ewing might have got away with a walk on that one.
Martin.
Dalrymple, that's going to be a push on somebody. Patrick Ewing.
Number 4.
Now John Thompson's got a big decision to make. I believe he's got to take him out right here. Got to take him out and come in with Dalton. And probably keep him out for about, we're at 18-minute mark. He may have to sit for about 10 minutes here, Brent.
Thompson will call a timeout.
Big strategy coming up here by John Thompson. First, he's going to stare down the refs, but that's not going to work. He's got to think about what he's going to do here. May talk about taking some time off the clock with his delay game.
Billy, the biggest moment of the game.
So far, now you're going to see the great rebounding guard Dalrymple get in. He pushes off, no call there. Then Patrick Ewing tries to come over to help out, but Dalrymple, being a good leaper and a great athlete, is able to hold his ground, and Ewing picks up his 4th, which is a touch foul. Now the press will not be as effective because you don't have to worry about Dalton back there being able to block shots if you go right at him. Georgetown goes to their 2-1-2 zone.
Georgia Tech's last lead was 5-4.
Mark Price wanting a jump shot. Georgia Tech using their little two-man game, trying to pump inside to John Sally or Joseph. But Mark Price would like to put up a jumper here.
Sally.
Again, there's the difference. Dalton is not going to be able to stop that kind of penetration inside.
Foul away from the ball.
Dalton. Offensive foul, trying to set the screen.
That's his third personal foul.
And here's the pressure, but see if Georgia Tech doesn't start to now push it up confidently, because they know Ewing's not back there. A lot of difference. Now, back to straight man-to-man goes Georgetown. And without Ewing again, they'll try to punch the ball inside.
Dalrymple. Dalton.
Nice job by Ralph Dalton. How many times has he carried the load for Georgetown?
Loose. Georgia Tech. Petway.
Trying to push the ball up the floor.
Joseph. Travel.
Isn't it amazing how much difference? People wonder about a Patrick Ewing. Statistically, forget it. He just changes the game, because if he's in there, Joseph never even tries to penetrate to the hoop. Again, a little 1-4 offense here.
Williams.
So soft. Boy, he is a great player. He likes George Gervin. You know, he has that ability to get off any kind of shot. Amazing. Von Joseph did him a lot of trouble. Man-to-man now by Georgetown. Georgia Tech would like to go inside.
Back to Dalrymple and then knocked away beautifully. Here come the Hoyas. Wingate. He traveled.
David Wingate is just incredible on that break. Normally he gets that ball down quickly enough. You see him steps here. Jackson pushing the ball up court. He just didn't quite catch it. Didn't have the handle in time. Take that ball away from Petway if Petway's not careful. He's got a lot of quickness on him.
Sally. Price in the corner.
Good judgment by Mark Price. Billy Martin on Sally gave him a lot of pushing.
Sally underneath, wrestling the ball away. And Dalton stays right with it. Jackson.
Boy, Dalton with two super defensive plays. And he's frustrating Georgia Tech right now. And John Thompson doing what I thought he'd do. Take time off the clock to make this a shorter game now, so that the game stays like it is until Patrick Ewing can get back.
Jackson penetrates, and it's offensive charge against him. That's his third personal.
Wonder why Jackson went down in there. What John Thompson wants now are minutes off the clock.
Broadnax replaces Jackson.
One of the things that's happening to Georgia Tech, though, Brent, they're looking so hard to go inside, they've taken themselves out of their normal offense now.
Farrell on the floor, as you have noticed, for Georgia Tech.
I think it'd be smart for them to try to get Mark Price in the offense again. They're trying to go inside so much, they've taken Price out of there.
Sally gets it to Joseph, and Dalton got a hand out of it. Here's Price. Loose, run down by Price. control. Broadnax rebounding. Here come the Hoyas.
I think that if Georgia Tech gets this ball back again, they'd be smart to call a timeout, Brent, because they've gotten out of their offense and they're not gaining any room on Georgetown during the time that Patrick Ewing has been out of there for 5 minutes. Object here is to shorten the game.
At the 13-minute mark. Coming up.
Georgia Tech taking their 2 big men, just staying down in around the basket. Bobby Crimmins does not want to force this action. Take a chance for a layup. Charge again. See, what happened there, Brent? And John Sally really took a crack on the head.
Sally remaining down. Wingate shaken up on the play. His 3rd personal.
Now, if the trainer comes out, Sally's going to have to come out of this game. Well, he's really weak. He's going down again. Brent, the point I want to make there, real strategy here. John Thompson going to the 4 corners, but Bobby Crimmins going back to what Al McGuire did to Dean Smith. He's saying, I'm not going to go out there and have my big men go wide. I'm going to wait on your driving penetration and let you charge in. No question about it. You're going to see Sally really crack his head on the ground. Getting up awful slow, and we see the other angle. See Sally and Joseph holding their ground. Here's the charge. Boy, John Sally really took a hit on the head. He is rather groggy going off of there.
He represents Georgia Tech's offense in this half. All 6 of their points so far.
Now, if Sally goes out, Bobby Crimmins has a move to make. Does he come back with Antoine Ford? Or does he come back in with Petway? He's going to have to call the timeout because he used Sally's injury. He's got to either take him out of there.
Sally being looked at in front of the bench. We'll be right back in a moment. 12:44 left here in Providence in the East Region Final. Georgetown ahead of Georgia Tech, 36-35. And the road to Lexington continues tomorrow. Villanova takes on North Carolina 1:30 Eastern. That in the Southeast Regional. Then it'll be the West Regional Final. North Carolina State against St. John's. And earlier today, Memphis State held off Oklahoma 63-61. Keith Lee came down with 4 fouls and held on and contributed some very important free throws down the stretch.
It's Antoine Ford coming back in the game, and with that timeout, Bobby Crimmins had the right, if he wanted to put Sally back in the game, but evidently Sally just too groggy. Now he's standing up asking to go back in. Of course, Ford had a very good first half.
Threw in 5 points off their bench. Here's Price.
Can't get one.
Dalrymple fouled, and again, Bruce Dalrymple gets tough rebounding position.
You know, Brent, we talk about this game being so good, but the matchups tomorrow are great, too. You've got Big East against ACC again. NC State, it looks like they love it out west. Louis trying to get back in there. That's that all-Italian final in the West. There's Billy Martin.
Sally is back.
I don't know if Price realizes that David Wingate's behind him. Bobby Crimmins sees it. Dalrymple made All-Atlantic Coast Conference All-Tournament team. Many people felt that he at least deserved co-MVP with Mark Price in that tournament. He was sensational. First person to score other than Sally in this half.
Georgia Tech salad. Inside of 12 minutes to go. Regulation.
I think we'll see Patrick Ewing at the 9-minute mark. John Thompson, unless this game gets away from him, probably wants to bring him back at that time because he can go in his delay game later.
Joseph.
Joseph is, every time he touches the ball, you can feel the lumps in the hearts of all the Georgia Tech coaches out there. They never know what he's going to do with it. They'd like to get the ball to Sally on Martin. I think they think that Sally can go over it.
Dalrymple comes inside. He'll come to the line. Chance for a three-point play, and he draws the fourth personal on Ralph Dalton.
Eye contact between John Thompson. We'll see Dalrymple go into the hoop. Great play. If Patrick Ewing's in there, you don't even go to the hoop. Sensational play. Now, John Thompson on the sidelines, Brent. I'm trying to keep up with him a little bit. He looked down at Patrick Ewing. Patrick looked right up at him, and I think John's saying, not yet, big fella. And he tries Grady Mateen.
The freshman center out of Akron, Ohio. Mateen replaces Dalton. And of course, near the conclusion of today's game, Billy and I will select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game. Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school. Musburger, along with Billy Packer. We've got 11 minutes and 13 seconds, and Georgia Tech leads Georgetown 40-36. Pat Ewing is out for the Hoyas after picking up his fourth personal foul here early in the second half.
That's going to be on Dwayne Farrell, trying to keep Williams from penetrating. Now, Williams and Wingate are the two fellas in this lineup that Georgetown will try to get their offense from. Jackson has not had the big game.
Second team foul on Georgia Tech, and again 7 on Georgetown. They get over the limit in the second half quickly as they did in the first.
Georgia Tech in his own defense.
Jackson.
Somebody over the back. Who's pushing? John Sally picks up his fourth. That was a great offensive rebound by Wingate.
The foul situation now looming so big, and the freshman Antoine Ford will replace Sally.
At this point in the game, obviously that's a pretty decent trade-off as opposed to Mateen in there for Ewing. But that was David Wingate who made the great penetrating move to get himself open.
Jackson
having a hard time hitting today. No, a big miss. The ball touched Georgetown. Officials missed that one.
Jackson is 0 of 6. Since Ewing left, Georgia Tech has outscored Georgetown 7-2. Williams has the only 2. Mateen snapping the ball down, and he drew the foul.
Grady Mateen has not seen a lot of big action this year, but was heavily recruited, one of the top big men in the country last year coming out of high school. And I remember in the St. John's game, Brent, where Grady Mateen got action in which Georgetown lost. He wasn't quite ready at that time, but he looks good today. You can't give him 3 chances.
9 points for Martin. Georgia Tech up by 2 at the 10:23 mark.
Good overplay.
Jackson fouls Price.
Now, one of the things can hurt Georgetown, too. They can't afford to let Jackson get in a lot of trouble because now you're talking about a key man in your 4 corners, and he has 4 personal fouls. It has to come out of there.
Broadnax replaces Jackson.
I think we're about 2 minutes away from seeing Ewing come back into this ball game.
He went out at the 18:02 mark. Now we're down to 10:15.
Well, we've got one team in the Final Four, Memphis State. The players other than their superstar carried them through. Keith Lee, until today, had been in constant foul trouble for Memphis State. His teammates pulled him through.
11 points for Price, and they at the free throw line have 18 out of 20 this afternoon. Georgetown is 6 of 10.
Trapping defense now by Georgia Tech. First time that they've gone ahead aggressively after Georgetown. Pretty good move from a strategy standpoint. A team that likes to press doesn't like to be pressed.
Wingate.
Thought Wingate was fouled on that play. That should equalize each other. Ford was the backup to Alden Polynice in high school, the outstanding player from the University of Virginia.
And here in Providence, live at the East Region Final with 9:22 to go, and Georgetown shooting for the top. Gets it. We are tied, 9-12.
Devon Joseph's overcommitted on the baseline. To feel good about the fact that he's been able to hang even with Ewing on the bench.
Great block.
Away. Picked up on the move by Brodnax. Ford comes back to fouling.
Great block. Pass on the inside, Billy Martin. Here you have that senior leadership. Brodnax taking it right to the basket wisely. Ford coming down with a foul. Remember, Ford is the man that fouled in the Oklahoma game at a very critical stage.
Sally returns with 4 personals. Farrell sits down for Coach Crimmins. Dalton checks in for Thompson.
That fine play out of Grady McKean. And now he gets a chance to rest a little bit. Jackson, between the two of them this year, they have 290 assists. Brodnax just a 61% free throw shooter, however. Look good on those.
Good view of the Georgetown pressure. Price coming up against him.
And Georgetown goes zone. Brodnax turning around saying, let's remember where Mark Price is at this time. Double screen for Price on the wing.
Dalrymple with another big rebound for Georgia Tech.
Billy Martin didn't block out on the weak side. That's very unusual for him. Always got to remember where Dalrymple is. That was a set play.
In behind, Williams knocks the ball out of bounds. Tech's ball.
Tough to get that lob with a guy like Williams coming from the weak side. He's so quick. You know, it's amazing, Brent. Both of these teams have played 19 games this year against teams in the NCAA tournament. And they've played top-flight competition.
Sally with 4 Hoyas on it. Maneuvers and ties it up at 44. 7:43.
Amazing not to get caught for walking on that move.
Wingate. Oh! Tap by Dalton.
Oh, Ralph
stays with it.
Play. Oh, that's just a great play. We're talking about a guy that had a knee operation that kept him out of his freshman year. They never thought he'd play any basketball. Great play. The committee did a pretty good job ranking these guys 1-2, huh?
Price. Dalton rebound.
Great block out by Dalton. He put Dalrymple right into the seats for that one. 4 corners coming up. Patrick Ewing coming to the sidelines. Now, one of the problems here is the fact that Georgetown not a good free throw shooting team. If push comes to shove down the line, might get this game into a free throw shooting contest.
Williams brings it out to Wingate. Brodnax.
Again, Georgia Tech is saying, we're not going to give you a layup because they've got their 2 big men stationed with 1 foot in the lane on the part of both of them. Which I think is very good strategy. If you're Bobby Crimmins at this stage of the game, you say, hey, if I'm 5 minutes to go and I was just down 2, that's where I'd want to be. Oh, that was it.
Knocked free by Petway. And the Hoyas come up with it.
Should have been a jump ball situation.
Williams to Martin. And Martin powers into Dalrymple, who took another charge, but scored the basket. Crimmins doesn't want the basket scored, but they are going to count the basket, and the charge will go against Martin.
Good penetration, great dish. Billy Martin grabbing the ball beautifully and going up. The ball was released as he made the contact. Good call all the way around. I thought the loose ball should have been a jump ball. But that was some dish by Williams. Goes up, makes contact, but had released the ball. Excellent call. Patrick Ewing's back in the game.
Ewing returns after leaving at the 18:02 mark. He comes back at 5:31 with Georgetown up by 4 points. And Ralph Dalton and Grady Mateen, in his absence, held up inside for the Hoyas.
Dalrymple's been out of sight on that foul line. Brett, we talked about Bobby Crimmins taking over a program that was 4-24. John Thompson took over a Georgetown program that was 3-23 the year before he got there. So 2 great rebuilding jobs.
So while Ewing was out, Georgetown still outscored Georgia Tech 14-11. Jackson also with 4 personals returns. Broadnax sits. And here again we have evidence of that great Georgetown depth.
Patrick Ewing's wide open.
And he is fouled by Joseph. And Williams objects. Dalrymple holds him up. Now Dalton comes back at Joseph. And Ewing steps into the fracas. And now they're restraining Joseph, who is pointing at him right now.
I don't think anybody wants any part of Yvonne Joseph. He's a 27-year-old man, and he can handle himself. Now, he went after Dalton, who was wide open. And he really went after him. That's got to be a 2-shot foul, obviously. Dalton's going to come up out of there. Actually, Dalrymple, who Dalton was angry at, was trying to help Dalton. You see the pass. Yvonne Joseph's going up there to make sure this shot is not dunked. I don't think he went after him personally. He went after the ball, which was a smart play. And you can see Dalrymple trying to help him a little. See Dalton on the line for 2 shots, Brent.
Ron Joseph, out of Haiti, an engineering student at Georgia Tech. A former volleyball player who just picked up the game of basketball 4 years ago. That's the biggest story in this game.
Now Dalton on the line has done an incredible job throughout the year, but only a 61% free thrower.
Now we just checked who that timeout was charged to. The officials called it to cool everybody off.
He got it all. Good follow-through is what made that basket. If you want to talk about an MVP of this game from Georgetown, you're looking at a man right here that's done a great job. Hits the pair.
And a 4-point Hoya lead against Crimmins and Georgia Tech.
And now the press takes on a different look because you have Patrick Ewing all the way in the backside. This is really the first time Georgia Tech has faced the defense with Ewing in the game, because last time they had the free throw shot when he first came in. Giving Petway the shot. Ewing guarding both Sally and Petway at the same time.
Ewing and Dalton together underneath is a mighty force right now for Thompson in Georgetown. Price
Forced it.
knocked loose. Dalrymple battling for it, and Georgetown controls.
Price forced that shot, realizing Ewing was on his side, and he'd be wise never to go on that side of the court.
That That is 3 personals on Dalrymple. Taking a look at the shooting by Georgia Tech in this game, Price is only 2 of 13. Sally, on the other hand, is 5 of 8 on the inside. Joseph has taken only 3 shots. Dalrymple 2 of 4.
What's been amazing is Georgetown's free throw shooting's been on the mark here down the stretch.
Georgia Tech for the game is hitting only 38%. Georgetown 44. At the line right now, the Hoyas are 11 of 15. Sally coming inside, fouled by Williams. That is the 3rd on Williams.
Well, Sally, the one poor free throw shooter, is on the floor right now.
But Georgia Tech has hit its last 15 free throws.
Looks like John Sally recovered from hitting his head on the floor after drawing that charge. Second team all-conference player this year, 7-footer.
Jackson off Thompson's bench. Rodnax will sit down. And it's 16. And a total of 21 points in this game at the free throw line. A 3-point Georgetown lead. When you come back, we'll have 4:35 remaining and the East Region Championship at stake. Whom do you foul on the other team? For Georgetown, you can see Wingate, Ewing, Martin, and Dalton shoot free throws 60 percentile. You would prefer not to have the other 2 on the line. For Georgia Tech, you obviously want to keep Price off the line, but the rest of that team is pretty good with the exception of Sally, who has done an excellent job at the free throw line. In this game, he is perfect on 5 attempts.
Oh, what a pass by Ewing. Could have been real trouble.
Martin's open. And Dalrymple wraps him up underneath.
That throw from Patrick Ewing to Wingate, a very dangerous pass, but Wingate has the super hands. Dalrymple overcommitted, couldn't get there.
I'm not sure that Crimmins wanted Dalrymple to give his 4th personal foul in that situation.
But you can't let him have the easy layup. Dalrymple was just out of position. Rodnax, who seems to be having the hot hand today, is the guy back in the ballgame. John Thompson's starting to substitute offensive and defensive teams right now.
2 of the better point guards dueling, and both of them have been very cold from the floor. Jackson of Georgetown is 0 of 6. Price of Georgia Tech is 2 of 13.
Billy Martin showing good free throw shooting technique. You know, it's amazing when you look at this Georgetown team, they've been so good at one fella on the All-East first team, All-Big East first team.
Sally cleans it up.
Wingate kept that ball alive.
Now 4:26 remaining, and at stake a trip to Lexington and a berth in the Final Four along Memphis State. Already there. 2 more will join today's 2 tomorrow on CBS.
Patrick Ewing playing in the middle on this zone. It's a 1-3-1. Mark Price had just not been able to find an opening to get off his jumper, then it won't be altered. And obviously this defense prevents you from getting that ball right on Ewing.
Joseph. Run down by Dalrymple.
It's amazing, isn't he? Has a great nose for the ball.
Not a bad shooter from that spot either. Georgia Tech to within 2.
And Georgetown goes to their 4 corners. Now, what's so tough here? When they penetrate here, you got to remember you've got Patrick Ewing up around the rim. There he is.
Ewing has it knocked away by Joseph.
I think Petway's going to get called for the foul. 2 shots. That's not a bad one. You sure can't let him have the dunk.
Joseph reached right in on him, and he's going to be assessed his 4th.
Oh, it is going to be Joseph?
Personal foul. Dalton.
You're right, Brent.
Returning.
I thought it was Petway on the reach. Of course, at this stage in the game, you just got to do whatever is necessary defensively. You can't worry about your foul trouble. there's a big blockout situation coming now. Yvonne Joseph has Wingate. He's so quick and slashing. This is the pair. That's what I said. Wingate can slash in. Nobody blocked him out. Great play by Wingate.
Ships it back to Blackmore. Too deep, and it'll go over to Georgia Tech. A chance to tie the game at the 3:08 mark.
Brent, one of the things that's happening right now is that Georgetown is trying to penetrate, and Georgia Tech is not playing them honestly. They're keeping their big men packed back in there, so the penetration's not available. Price needs to understand what side Patrick Ewing is coming out on. He'll never get the jumper off on Ewing's side. Ewing, you can see him trying to see where Price is at all times to be able to slide out there to stop the jump shot.
There he is. Ewing rebounds the miss.
Price can't buy one. If you're Georgia Tech, that's exactly the shot you would have wanted.
2 of 14.
John Thompson saying, let's go back to regular offense, which they do. No longer the 4 quarters.
Dalrymple pops out.
Somebody's got to be open under the hoop.
Ewing had come out. Wingate sends it back to Ewing. Inside of the 2 minutes.
Dalrymple on Wingate. That's a great challenge out here. Joseph be smart and post himself right under the basket, because the minute he starts getting out of position, Patrick Ewing's going to sneak in there for the jam.
Petway has put Williams on the line at 112. Bobby Cremens will use a timeout. So the Tech team goes over to assemble around their coach. When we come back, we'll have 112. And the champions lead by 2 points. We're back, Billy, and what about Coach Cremens' strategy now?
Well, we're in a different situation now that we're getting down under the 1 minute mark coming up, Brent. I think he's got to go and turn this into a foul shooting game. Say, all right, I played you close the rest of the way. My big advantage over you is free throw shooting. I'm going to put your guys on the line and see if they can make it.
If they tie up the ball, it'll go Georgia Tech's direction on a jump ball situation.
And the other thing, I'm sure that Bobby Cremens has warned his clubs, and he's done so well with it, is do not allow them to get the dunk on the penetration. Stay back in there, give up no easy shots inside, turn it into a free throw shooting contest. Look at those fouls.
7 players on the floor with 4 fouls apiece.
Farrell in the ball game, probably from a rebounding standpoint, everybody recognizing got to keep Wingate off the boards here.
1-1, gentlemen. Lane rate.
75% free throw shooter. No doubt in that one. Of course, Reggie played for the nation's #1 high school team at Dunbar in Baltimore. Was considered the #1 high school player in the country. Gets the pair. Nice touch. Now Georgia Tech cannot afford to take time off this clock. They got to push it inside in a hurry. Back to the box and 1. Smart move by John Thompson. He doesn't want Price to beat him with a jump shot.
So Petway takes the shot and pulls him back to within 1-2, and that's the most unlikely shooter on the floor. That's the the correct timeout situation. Petway 1 of 2, and Petway comes in and fouls Williams.
Now here's a case, Brent, where one of the things I like to say about officiating today, Bobby Crimmins didn't like the call, but we have had very consistent officiating. As a coach, that's all you can ever ask for. They have called the game very tight, and in that particular call, in another game that might have not been a foul, but in this game they've called a tight game from start to finish, which has been excellent. Well, he's got the stroke right now.
4 of 6 from the field, including his first 3 in this game. He's 3 of 3 from the free throw line.
Now, you do not want to foul if you're Georgia Tech. Particularly on Mark Price. They can beat you from the field.
Price.
Oh,
2-point
down
game again.
They don't want to foul Reggie Williams, but they can't find somebody else to foul. This could be 10 seconds. Dunk. Got a foul now. They're going after Wingate. They got a foul. There it is.
They'll put Dalton on the line. And if that's on Sally, that'll be his 5th.
Can't worry about it at that point. You had enough the ball in the hands, the man you want to have to shoot the free throws.
John Sally fouls out for Georgia Tech and gets a tremendous ovation.
Okay, Ralph Dalton on that foul line. He's been a great player today. Basically a backup. He's worked hard in practice throughout his career. John Thompson's used him so well over the course of his career. Just like Eddie Spriggs, the former mailman that he recruited, became the great backup center early in Patrick's career. Thompson's got to love him here.
That's an MVP-type performance by Ralph Dalton.
What that does for Georgia Tech, obviously, they've got to score within about, they got to get themselves a shot up within 5 seconds to be in a position to get that ball back again on a foul shot. Price should try to take it the distance.
Gets inside. There's Broadnax. Georgetown's going back to the Final Four. Thompson